I go by plenty of names. Most of them not reputable and polite company. The one I respond to most readily, however, is Prof. That's what they call me, at least, because I know anime. Why do I know it? Because it beats watching sports. It was just a typical night at the office, between shots of week-old root beer and adjusting my hat just so. That's what she walked into my life. And things went straight to hell. There are times when I really regret the rep that I've got tearing down bad anime. This is a situation I ran into a while back with one Miss Shay Koshan. Watch Psychic Academy, she said. It'd be fun, she said. So let me paint you a picture of when this dame walked into my life. She had been nudging me to review Ava for funsies, and I told her in no uncertain terms that I wouldn't. So then she pitched Psychic Academy to me.
So the fight setup looks like it could actually be a fight scene. Broken up by the main character groping the antagonist. Best fight scene ever.
Now by this point I should have known that this intelligent young woman was a little unhinged, but I took the bait. The next statement should have warned me, though.
And there's a fun game attached to it. Try to decipher the plot.
I wasn't scared of obtuse plotting. I'd watched Ergo Proxy after all and came through it unscathed. The show itself was pretty tame, or so I thought. It had been an ONA, or original net animation, and the episodes were only 7 minutes long. But it's amazing how much pain you can pack into that little time. She tells me that this cat I is the main character, because he's the one that most closely resembles an average Japanese high schooler. Everyone else looks like they got in a fight with a dye factory and lost. She tells me about how he's dreaming about seeing his childhood friend, Orina, who sports green hair and a chest big enough to make other women's back ache sympathetically. Strangely enough, the man could predict what she was going to look like, having not seen her since they were knee-high to a grasshopper. It all seemed very by the numbers, nothing I hadn't dealt with before. But then, while on his way to school one morning, he had a fateful encounter with a mysterious girl with a cold demeanor and a skirt short enough to make a handkerchief look voluminous. She was colder than an igloo in December, and walked away with little more than an acknowledgement. But before he got any further, some dizzy dame let her kid drop off the balcony. The kid drops like glasses at the local speakeasy, but a girl appears before—
Incoming panties!
That was when I realized what I was in for. The moment she uncorked that water bottle into that stock pose, I realized what a mess this was going to be. This is already smellier than Aunt Petunia's garlic soup, and half as strong. But still, I never turn down a job once I start it, no matter where it leads me. Even if it leads to rabbit attacks. I had concluded that I was in over my head, but I couldn't stop thinking about what that Shay dame had told me about it. I decided to bring it up to her again, but all she said was,
I told you it was great!
"You're nuttier than a peanut factory, aren't you?"
Of course not! Is this the face of a crazy person?
I was beginning to believe so. That was when I realized that not only was this show far too stupid and colorful for this noir shtick to work, and that aside from a beautiful woman breaking its way into my life, I didn't have anywhere to go with it. Especially when I'm relying on stuff I have to draw myself. It was time to hang up the fedora and trench coat and stub out the smokes, and then get back down to brass tacks. So in addition to psychic rabbits and ludicrously short skirts, they also have these things called aura codes. Now I'm sure you're thinking of superhero names like Wolverine and Cyclops. However, in this case, it's some bullshit that you get when you make up a language. This is really only getting harder to watch as it goes along.
What, behind the rabbit? It is the rabbit.
Can I just say for a minute that the clothing designs here aren't just bad, they're really, really weird. The women's uniforms have these weird wrinkles over the bust line, which is strange because they're supposed to be at once skin tight and apparently loose enough to wrinkle. That doesn't make too terrible much sense. Oh, and it only gets worse when Sir Honky McBoob Squeeze gets a bloody good handful. Dude, that's a breast, not a water balloon, you daft fool. And furthermore, no human being should wear a skirt that short. I've had more robust handkerchiefs.
Wait. Imagine the backstory here. A powerful psychic driven completely mad by his powers, and his madness comes out in being a total perv who builds corsets and weird wrinkles into his school uniforms.
What, like Professor X with a bonk on?
Yes! And it gets better too. You should see the battle armor.
Okay. Yeah. Right. Clearly the best kind of battle armor is studded with nipples. And tight enough to show her navel at the same time. Shay, what the hell is this madness?
It gets better, I swear. Look, check out these awesome fire. It's like wonderful. What?
Canada is not opposite land. Either you're taking the piss or you're legitimately nuts. So which is it, lady?
I'm not telling. Oh, and look, his destined girl finally shows up. And what a slap she delivers.
With all the force of getting a marshmallow car wreck. Anyway, Orina uses her magic powers to make little green goo versions of herself and spunk up all over him.
Yeah, it's nice to see she's throwing her weight around. Somewhat literally. Admit it, you want to see him get with the busty one.
They're all the busty one.
No, the really busty one.
I repeat my last statement.
Oh, come on, you love it. You're just torn because they're all so beautiful, just like he is. And he just can't decide between all of them which one's the best one to fall in love with. How romantic.
I am definitely noticing how top-heavy they are because it's getting in the way of them being characters.
Boobs are totally the same thing as personality.
Oh, no. I'm not falling for agreeing to that again. You only get kicked in the balls once before you learn.
Damn, he saw through my clever ruse. So have you figured out the plot yet?
Well, let's see. This utterly normal guy doesn't have much in the way of powers, and yet he has bitches throwing themselves at him, so he has to deal with psychic school and crazy women. Wow, or if I watched this show before.
You love it. It's giving you all the feels, isn't it? Isn't it?
The only feels I'm having are the feels of wanting to hit you with a truck.
A truck full of feels!
A truck full of bricks!
Bricks made out of feels!
For another thing, who dresses these people?
I'm sure they're old enough to dress themselves by now!
They need to stop getting dressed in the dark then!
They can't afford electricity!
Then hook that white-haired bitch up to a generator and let fly!
She might electrocute Metal Man's precious penis! His penis is very important. It's like plot relevant and stuff.
To the plot or your fanfics?
Yes! Wait, the series has fanfiction? Someone other than me actually made it to the end of this thing?
Every series has fanfiction. Hell, there are fanfics involving me.
I'll be right back.
Well, that was amazing. So this show wouldn't even be worth a second look, except for little Miss Bella Della Tortura over there wanting me to take a crack at it. To be entirely fair, she'd been after me for like years to get on this one, but now that I look at it, it just, like, wow. This is bad on an artistic level. You have to work hard to make this much hurt. I suppose going into something as an ONA would be safer and less expensive in 2002 than it would be, like, produce fully. But seriously, this is 10 years old and feels like it's 30 years old. This show could have hung out with shows like Zeta Gundam and still felt trashy.
I found some! Oh, and I finished the manga while I was at it too. You will never believe who he ends up with.
Oh, well, gee, let me guess. There's the derpy green-haired girl, the bitchy redhead who seems stoned off her gourd, the blonde sociopath with an extra spirit in her body. He ends up with a teacher, doesn't he?
That would actually make more sense. No.
Okay, let's derail that conversation. Metal Panty Man is starting to give me the heebie-jeebies.
Well, but there's fan service to keep you entertained.
Oh, brilliant. Like keys to a baby. These women spend more time dressing and undressing than most women do sleeping. And worst yet, they have the dullest, least interesting parts of every harem show. I swear I remember having some action in this show.
Ooh, you haven't gotten to my favorite fight yet. So here's the setup. Electric Girl and the main guy get into a fight in the river.
Notice how we don't care enough to remember their names?
Yeah, fair point. But then he beats her with groping.